You're listening to episode 107 of the Master Your Mind, Business, and Life podcast. If you've been listening for a while, you know how I get when I meet a guest who I feel like I have an instant connection with. Overly giddy, to say the least. But hey, I don't think that's a bad thing, right? This week's guest is Lisa Mustard. Lisa is a licensed marriage and family therapist, life coach for women who want to live their best midlife, podcaster, and entrepreneur. Lisa and I cover everything from diving into a new career, burnouts, motherhood, and of course, living your best life. If something resonates with you today while listening, share this episode with a friend or screenshot that you're listening, share it on social media, and tag me in it at MindBizLife. I'll be sure to not only follow you, but reshare it with our community. Let's get this podcast into the homes, cars, and earbuds of many. This episode is sponsored by Spiritually Seeking. Through the end of April, when you go over to spirituallyseeking.com and use the promo code PODCAST, you'll receive 10% off your order. If you're looking for guidance, you can score a personalized card reading or even a one-on-one private spiritual guidance session with yours truly. And if you want to dive deeper into self-awareness, check out the personalized numerology report. It's all available for you at spirituallyseeking.com. Remember that spiritually followed by a dash seeking.com and use the promo code podcast to save 10%. Okay, are you ready to meet Lisa? You know what to do. Tune in, turn it up, let's go.
You're listening to Master Your Mind, Business and Life. Conversations with everyday world shifters, truth seekers, and rule breakers. Here's your host, Lauren Smith.
Welcome back to another episode. Today's guest is licensed marriage and family therapist, podcaster, and entrepreneur, Lisa Mustard. Hey, Lisa, welcome to the show. Thanks for taking the time to join me today.
Hey, Lauren, I am so excited to be here. Thank you for having me. I can't wait. Can't wait to talk.
We connected through a group that we're both in, and I was intrigued when I read that you help women live their best midlives. I know there's got to be a good story in here as to what led you to this mission. If you will, share a little bit about your journey with us and what got you to this point in life.
Yeah, thank you for asking, and I'm excited to tell you guys about my story and about my journey, and living living my best life looks like, because I truly believe it looks different for everybody. So for the record, I am 46. I have an interesting background. I started out in sports and entertainment marketing, graduated college in 95 right when like the internet was becoming a thing. I didn't even know what email was when I graduated. It was like I call them the youngins, the freshmen were down in the computer lab, all in this email thing. And I was like, that's not relevant to me. I'll never use that. So, like you can imagine, that's how many years ago? 24 years ago, right?
Right.
And so I got a job. First I interned with a sports marketing company. I was a media relations intern. It was a popular American road race, and that was the year that Lance Armstrong became the Lance Armstrong. So I was kind of behind the scenes working as he was, becoming this like American hero, I guess we could call him at that time. And from there, that company decided it dissolved, and the head of that company moved to Atlanta and took a job at Turner Sports. And a bunch of us moved. I was in Richmond, Virginia. That's where I'm from. A bunch of us moved down to Atlanta, and I got a job with the Goodwill Games, kind of followed the pack of the people that I worked with. And I was working in marketing with the Goodwill Games, and that was in 96, 97, 98. The athletes that we worked with was like Michelle Kwan, Michael Johnson, Dan O'Brien. These are all athletes that I was, had all this, just a great time living in Atlanta, single, having a lot of fun. But I got to a point where I was looking for a new challenge, and Turner Sports also owns World Championship Wrestling. So I took a lateral position. I moved over to World Championship Wrestling, worked in marketing, and that was a really interesting experience, to say the least. Really interesting. And, I'm in my late 20s, and I'm looking around and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, like, is this what I want to do with my life? Do I want to stay in professional wrestling? It's a lot of fun. Maybe there's opportunity here, but I really wasn't sure it's what I wanted to do, was my life's calling. And about the same time, I was getting really interested in health and wellness and helping people kind of, I was just learning a lot about myself and what was lighting me up. And I was getting back into the lifting weights and being active. And I was curious about grad school too. So I decided that it was time for me to go back and advance my studies. And so I came to the University of South Carolina and got my master's in public health. And I wanted to tie marketing and public relations in with public health. And so that was kind of the journey, the journey and then the path that I was on. At the same time that I moved here, I met my future husband. He was just a good friend at the time, and we started to go to the gym together, and he was a personal trainer. So he really helped me kind of work on setting up a program in the gym, and I fell in love with lifting weights. And things were good. And then things weren't good all of a sudden, and I couldn't figure out what was eating at me. Our relationship was kind of rocky. And he said to me one day, he said, I love you and I care about you, but I can't be with you if you're going to be this unhappy. And I didn't know, I was devastated because I didn't know myself very well. Like I thought I really knew myself in my late 20s, but I really didn't. And I started to go to counseling. And when I was in counseling, I did a lot of work on my family of origin, my parents' divorce, how I defined being a woman, how I defined success, how I thought marriages should be, finances, all of those things. And as I went through the process of therapy, I learned so much about me. I learned so much about expectations I had put on other people to make me happy. I learned so much about,
your beliefs even?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, totally. Like I didn't know what I believed in until somebody really questioned me. And
Right. Yeah.
that's really important. So, and then I fell in love with the process of therapy, and I did a lot of work on myself, and I said, you know what, I think I want to go back to grad school and I want to become a therapist. So, in my early 30s, I went back to school again and got a master's in counselor education and eventually became a licensed marriage and family therapist. And my husband now, Billy, he and I worked really hard on myself, and we are not perfect. I am not perfect. Neither is he. But, I have a lot, I'm so much better about, taking responsibility for my thoughts, feelings, and actions than I ever have been in my whole life. And at 46 years old, I can say that I feel like I'm living my best life, and just kind of going through that journey. And my journey's not over. I truly believe that it's not over. I kind of feel like it's just getting started.
Yeah.
Now that I kind of know myself better. And I just love helping other women see the potential in themselves and knowing that, you have so much more in you to do. You have so much more in you to become, so much more in you to have, that it really lights me up and it really gets me excited. And so I'm really hopeful that, women in their mid 30s to mid 40s, even 50 up, can still, pivot and shift and live their best lives and can make an impact, however they define making an impact.
I love, I feel like you touched on so many good points. I'm like now at this point, I'm like, okay, which one do I want to start at? So I think I'm going to start with what was then your future husband, but now your husband saying to you that he can't be with you if you're that unhappy. So take us back to that, because I feel like for him then to see your progression and your growth, what did that just do for your relationship, like going through therapy? Was that just, did you take some time off to really devote to yourself and then kind of rekindle it? Or was he like ride or die, or how was that?
Yeah. Well, it's an interesting, I look back on it now and it's like, that was 18 years ago. And, maybe I tend to romanticize it a little bit. If he was here right now, he'd probably be like, no, let me tell you the story. But we talk about it every now and then. And I had, growing up, I grew up in a family where we didn't really talk about feelings. We didn't talk about what was going on in our heart. It was more about, this is what you do. These are the decisions that you make, and you don't question. You just kind of, you go through, this is what marriage is. This is what is expected of you. There's a lot of shoulds, I guess. So I took the time to really consider what is going to make me happy, because I knew enough that I was so unhappy because I was putting all of my happiness onto him. Like it was his responsibility to make me happy. And I knew that wasn't correct,
Right. But you didn't have the tools to fix it almost.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. So therapy really helped me learn the tools, learn some communication skills, learn how to have patience with myself and not be so emotionally reactive to things. And I think what ultimately had us come back together was he could see me working really hard, because we would still, like, we broke up, and this, I don't recommend this. Like, I was thinking about this the other day, like, we should have just cut each other off. Like, we shouldn't have talked. We shouldn't have been in each other's world, but we still liked each other enough. We wanted to be friends. And so in the back of my mind, I kind of thought, like, there's a chance we could get back together. And so I took that risk of kind of like re-engaging with him, and he took that risk as well. And it did. It just, we took some time and space apart. We weren't together as much, but we still would go to the gym together, and we would still because that was like our fun place. And I thought, I just want to, like, can we just be friends and have fun together and just see where this goes? So he could, and we would talk after the gym. We'd sit in his truck and we would just like talk about, what I was learning about myself and his experiences growing up. So it really did deepen our relationship, our friendship, which eventually brought us back together. It probably took us about, after we broke up, 9-10 months maybe for us to kind of come back together and realize, like, we really do have something special and we're going to keep working at it. So
a lot of growth can happen in 10 months, though. Like, people might be like, oh, you were only 10 months. And some people are like, oh, 10 months. Like, it's all about perception of how you see that. But a lot can happen in that time, especially when you're actively doing the inner work.
Yeah. And I also, I was in my early 30s at this point. And so I knew that anymore. It's like, I'm 30 years old. I have to, if my life is going to get better, I have to work on it. And so I didn't want to waste any time, it was like, I would have an experience and I would just kind of sit in the feeling and be like, okay, well, what am I feeling right now? And what do I want to do with it? And okay, where's the logic in this? And what's really true here? And how do I want to show up after having this? And so there was so much that was going through my mind and through my heart. It was like, it was exciting, but it was also really scary at the same time.
Yeah.
And I cried a lot. Like, I cried a lot. And I thought about moving from, I just wanted to quit my job and leave and just start over again. But I kind of, wherever you go, there you are. Like, I always had that. I mean, I'm just going to, wherever I go next, I'm still going to be me. So may as well stay here and just, keep working. And I had him, and, it worked out. I mean, and it's work. It's not like it was just one day. Oh,
like a fairy tale. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like,
It's
there's
work. Yeah.
There's work to it. I know that a lot of your focus with clients are women who are in that midlife type of age. Have you found that there's a common theme that you see around women who are at that age and they come to you support? Do they all seem to hit like a burnout phase, or have they lost a sense of identity while raising their children? Anything like that?
I think there's definitely room for both.
Yeah.
I think the majority of the women that I see and help and work with it's more of, they've lost themselves. Who am I? I'm not just a mom, darn it. I'm more than just a mom. I have more in me, but my children demand so much of me, and I want to be there for them. So I've lost myself, but I feel guilty for feeling that I want more, and so I do notice that theme a good bit. Yes, definitely.
Yeah. I feel like when you get to a certain age, I mean, I made a shift and I thought it was scary to do just in my early 30s. So I feel like the older you get, the almost more intimidating that can get to lean in and take initiative to make a lasting change. And when you're thinking about pivoting into a new career or skill set, that scare factor just increases. Where do you advise people start?
Yeah. I say start with what you're good at. Start with your strengths. And I hear so much, figure out what you're passionate about. Figure out your passion. Well, I got to be honest with you. When you're 40 something years old and you've been in a career, or you've been a mom, you've been doing something for 10, 15 years, you probably have some strengths in that area. So while you might be passionate about, something else over here, what are you really good at? Let's look at what are your strengths and what really you could do with, one arm tied behind your back. And you could speak about for days and days. Start with what your strengths are, and then kind of, decide what else you want to bring into that. That's pretty much what I did. And I've tried it where I've been super passionate about, I'm very passionate about health and wellness and fitness and, health and activity. But when I decided to do personal trainings many years ago, I quickly burnt out on that. I wasn't as passionate about it as I thought I was. I mean, I was passionate about helping women, but I wasn't passionate about writing programs, right?
Interesting.
And then I thought, well, I'll be a health coach. I'm really passionate about helping, eating healthy. Well, I was really passionate about, once again, helping women, but I wasn't passionate about going on grocery store tours or, writing healthy meal plans. So
Right.
I kept coming back to, I'm really passionate about helping women. I'm really passionate. I'm really good at it. It's a strength. I can listen really well. And honestly, that's kind of what had me go into therapy was, like, I love to listen to people. I love people. I love hearing stories. I really help people looking at their issues differently, giving them a new perspective. So it's more about your strength than it is about your passion. And I think people get that kind of confused at times.
I love that you touched on that, and you wore so many different hats while trying to figure out. So you knew you were passionate about helping women, but the course of how you could help women changed.
Yeah.
So it's like you try on one hat, not for me, try on another one. That's not saying that you were changing your overall mission of helping women. It's just the path that you took was different.
Yep, exactly.
Oh, and that's so important because we can get hung up and see that as a quote unquote failure, right?
Oh,
So
yeah.
like, oh, I failed. Maybe I wasn't supposed to help women. And that can be a tricky mindset.
Oh yeah, definitely. And the idea of, and when I hear you say failure, my brain doesn't go to failure. My brain goes to, well, it's feedback. It's
Yeah.
feedback. You don't have to view it as a failure, view it as feedback. And there's nothing wrong with getting your mindset has to be in the right place to hear it as feedback for sure.
Right.
But it's just feedback. And I've gotten so much feedback over the years that I just like, oh, okay, well, let me think about this differently, or let me look at different possibilities here, or what might be an opportunity with this versus, oh my gosh, I'm not meant for this. This
Yeah.
stinks. I suck.
Right.
Count me out.
Yeah. How do you stay true to yourself? How do you make sure that you're making decisions that are in alignment with yourself?
Yeah, I think that's a really important question and something that we don't talk enough about. You have to know what your values are. You have to know, first of all, you have to know what they are. You have to prioritize them, and then you have to live them congruently. Because when you are walking in alignment with your values and your beliefs, everything, the noise just kind of goes away. The distractions go away. You can make decisions so much easier. You can figure out your next step so much quicker. So
Yeah.
to me, it's about identifying those values, ranking them, and then how congruently and authentically are you living them out every single day. It's not something that you just revisit once a week. It's something that you have to revisit every morning when you wake up and every night before you go to bed. And I think a lot of people just don't realize that, they don't.
Yeah.
Mhm.
We were talking before this, we're both girl moms, and
Mhm.
I think it's important now to teach these types of tools to our children so that
Mhm.
they're not 30, 40, 50, 60-year-old women learning them for the first time. It's almost like they can be a couple steps ahead of us. What are you doing as a mom to kind of bring these tools
Oh,
to your girls?
yeah, that is, I think about that a lot. And I work really hard to balance that between me talking at them
Right.
or talking with them versus looking for other women, other men that are mentors out there that they can learn from.
Mhm.
And it's really interesting. So I've known about Gary Vaynerchuk for years, but I just
Right.
recently started listening to his podcast more often than not. And I think it's because he's very motivating and he really can pump people up, and he does pump me up. But I was telling my 11-year-old about him, and I said, he has this idea about, you go to yard sales and you can find Beanie Babies, pay 50 cents, and then figure out how much you can sell them on eBay for. So that just like got her really excited.
Yeah.
And I said, I'm going to let you listen to him, but he cusses a lot.
Yeah. He drops some F-bombs.
He does. So we're like this morning before school, we were listening to like a little, because she's on TikTok, and so we were watching it together. And I said, "Now, Eva, if you go to school today and you drop a bomb, I'm going to be in so much trouble, not just with your school, but with your dad." I was like, "So please, we have to." But then I found out that he has his podcast where he doesn't cuss, so like they edit it out.
Oh.
So which is great because I think he has such amazing messages
Yeah.
about entrepreneurship and stuff. So
Right.
it's me for sure, and my husband, because like I said, we have similar beliefs and values. So we are very mindful as to what they're getting at school. We're paying attention, and then we're saying to them, okay, well, what do you think about that? Or where do you feel the holes are in that? Or what questions do you have about that? Just staying engaged with them and keeping a pulse on, what they're being exposed to, what they're excited about, what they're not excited about, what they're feeling challenged by. Maybe do you want to take on a new challenge? And it's just staying engaged and not, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, I don't want to be their friend. I want to be their mom, but I want to, I don't know.
Have a good relationship with them.
Yes.
Like,
Thank
yeah, like you like want to
Yeah.
nurture that in like so
Yes.
many different ways. It's like, yeah, I think there is that fine line of like
Mhm.
friend and mom, but like
Mhm.
you can be both. You
Right.
can wear both hats, and sometimes it's different.
Yeah. And I will share that I grew up with a single mom. It was just me and my sister. My parents were divorced. So I came home, I was a latchkey kid. I mean, I came home from middle school and it was on me to entertain myself. And, I was a good kid. It's not like I got into trouble or anything, but I didn't have my mom there at home after school to help me process what was going on in like middle school. And it's, middle school can be hard. There's
Oh,
relationships,
so hard.
there's friendships are changing. I mean, I have like had it ever since became a mom. I was like, I'm going to be there for my girls after school, no matter what it takes, because I want to, I didn't have that. And I know how important it is I see it as a therapist when I work with families and stuff. I want to be able to be there for my kids. So that's a priority for me. Not,
Yeah.
every day. I don't feel like it. I don't want a mom after school because, maybe I'm working on stuff and they've got things. It's not easy every day, but and I don't want it. I don't wish it to go away,
Yeah.
but I have to remember I asked for this. Like,
Yeah.
this is what I dreamt of, and I have it. So, I'm just I'm not a helicopter parent, I don't think, but I'm engaged,
Yeah.
and I want to know what's going on.
I feel the
Mhm.
same way. And I can really relate to that so much because my mom had this job where she worked crazy hours. I'm talking 60 to 80-hour work weeks. Do I think she wanted that or wanted to do that? No. Do I think she was doing what she had to do both as an adult and a provider? Yes. But I think subconsciously her crazy demanding job made me not want to have that type of job. It made me want to work from home and have more flexibility and be home after school. And I love that you brought up the whole after school thing because it can also be exhausting, like to say the least, if you yourself as the parent aren't mentally prepared to hear about their day. So I notice that if like I'm doing calls all day long and then boom, I have to go pick up the kids. If I haven't given myself even 10, 15, 20 minutes of quiet time to kind of decompress, I'm not able to absorb as much for them. And it's not that I can't be there, but it's, I'm like half listening then, or I'm just like, okay, I need 10 minutes till I make dinner. I'm not as present. So I've now made it kind of my go-to is I used to meditate in the morning. That used to really work for me.
Mhm.
And now I do it right before I go get them from school, just so I'm walking in a more calm, relaxed space. And I think it's important to kind of notice those things about yourself and have those seconds of reflection so that you can show up or see how you can show up as a better partner, as a better mother, as just a better person for yourself.
Yeah, I love that. And you're right. And I don't think we talk about that enough either as moms. I don't think I call it the parenting black hole. When the girls were like smaller, I would be to my, friends, I was like, I'm pretty much between the hours of like 3 and 7:30. Don't even bother. Like I can't answer the phone. I can't answer your text. Like I am just in the parenting black hole. And and I hate to say it like that, but it's kind of a joke now between me and Billy. But yeah, you're right. Like if we don't nurture ourselves, take that time and give us some quiet time before we go and pick them up. You're right. It's hard. And I don't know about your kids, but mine are at this age, like my 9-year-old, she is so chatty right now. And it's like, everything is so important. And I have to tell you right now, you won't believe what happened at recess. And you're just like,
and it's probably going to be the longest story ever. And you're just thinking to yourself, like, okay, can we get to the point?
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. But then I have to like, I don't know about you, but like I have to kind of giggle because I'm like, it's not going to be like this forever, you
Yes,
know?
yeah. It's
Yeah.
like, soak it in, talk to me, because I'm sure there's
Yeah.
one day where you're just going to walk
Won't.
by me and I'm not going to be worth the time of day.
Right.
So,
Right.
yeah, it's always that like little, like devil and angel almost on your shoulder of like, listen, oh, not that interested. Still, keep listening, keep
Yes.
listening.
Yes. Yes, for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah. It's an interesting, interesting.
Yeah, and I think it's important that I mean, you have touched on it so many times of just there's always just this give and take, and life doesn't have to look the same year to year. It's
Right.
it's really just listening to yourself and flowing more.
Yeah. Oh, that's such a oh, I need to write that down, Lauren. That was good. Can we make that a tweetable? That was really good.
Yeah, we definitely
Yeah, I like
can.
that. And and that just, I mean, if I think about where I was a year ago, where I am today, so many things have shifted. And, I think it's giving yourself that permission to shift
Mm,
and to pivot. That's okay. We ladies, you have permission. You have it in you. You can decide that you want to pivot and do something different and just start anew at any time. I
mm.
think it's really important that they know that.
I I think it's really cool. Let's talk about your podcast for a second
Okay.
because and correct me if I've misunderstood this, but
Mhm.
you can get hours towards
Mhm.
higher education for when you listen to some of your courses, like your podcast. Is this correct? Is this
It
what I
is.
understood?
It
Okay.
is,
Tell me
yeah.
more because this is
Okay.
like fascinating to me. I think
Oh,
it's such a cool concept.
thank you. Yeah, I'm really, really excited. And so I don't know if any of your listeners are out there have like what we call a professional degree, where you have to get CEUs for your license or for your state or for your certifications. Then you'll understand where this is coming from. So every 2 years, as a licensed marriage and family therapist in South Carolina, I have to get 40 hours of continuing education contact hours. And forever and ever, I've been going to workshops and seminars and webinars, and the list goes on and on. And a lot of the times, it's a check the box kind of thing. Now, we want to pick things that are within our niche, things that we want to learn about. We have to do a certain amount of credits on ethics. If you're a therapist and you focus on trauma, chances are your CEUs are going to be around trauma. If you're a marriage and family therapist, you might be doing some couples counseling CEUs. But I was at a conference and I was looking around the room and I was like, the audience was half like 65 and plus. No, not even half, probably like 25% was like 60 plus. Those are like the old guard master therapists that when
Right.
they talk, we're all listening. We're like, what are
Yeah.
they going to say? Like,
Yeah.
and then you've got the rest of the room is like Gen Xers like me, but all these millennials, like, and I was
Mm,
like, they're all on their phones. They may not be doing anything, but their phones are right there on their hip. When they go on break, they're on their phones, they're listening to stuff. And I thought, wouldn't it be cool if we could take CEUs to podcasting? Because I know I would listen when I'm working out, when I'm folding the laundry, when I'm making dinner. It would be a great way to save time and also save money on CEUs, because the overhead is, putting a podcast together really isn't that expensive compared to putting together a 6-hour event in a hotel, right?
right. And or having
So,
yeah, and
yeah,
having to travel for it and buy
yep,
your ticket and
all those
meals and
things.
yeah.
All those things. So I got really curious about, well, who is doing this? Is anybody doing this? Because maybe I could just go work for them. That's how I thought. Like, I'll just go
Yeah.
work for them. And then I couldn't find anybody doing anything like that. I do have a friend who's a speech therapist, and they're doing something very similar. And so I started to kind of follow what they were doing, and I thought, hey, they're making podcasts and talking about speech therapy and audiology and all these different topics. And I was like, well, why can't we do this for therapists? So I just
Mm,
decided to create it. So,
so cool.
um, thank you. Yeah. So the challenge really right now is every state has different licensing regulations. So right now I'm an approved provider for continuing education in South Carolina. However, so if you're a therapist in Georgia and you want to buy one of my CEUs, your board may not say that it's okay, because the CEU comes out of South Carolina.
Yeah.
So I'm going after a national credential that will then allow any LPC or LMFT in any state across the country to listen to an episode, take the course and pass it, and then get the certificate of completion. Once I have that certification under my belt, it will open me up to a national audience, and it's coming. It just takes months
time,
for them to
yeah.
review. Yeah,
That
which
is
is fine.
so awesome. This is like just an awesome concept because how
Thank you.
cool if you can learn while you're doing your everyday activities. And I mean, that's why I love podcasts, right? You can be in the car, listen to it, pause it, go back to it later when you just, have your earbuds in doing a little bit of work. So you're right.
Yeah.
It's so smart. And I love that you saw that niche and you're like, yep.
Thank
in
you.
it.
Yeah, I'm really, really excited. And if there are therapists that are listening to the show, I mean, if you have ideas for topics you'd like me to cover, just all you have to do is go to my website or find me on social media and say, hey, I would love it if you covered X, Y, and Z, and I will make it happen. There's so many topics out there. It's overwhelming to kind of like try to bring it all together and focus on one area. So instead of trying to be only focus on couples or only focus on PTSD, what I'm really working to do is do like overviews. So if you've never worked with eating disorder population, you can come and you can listen to an hour discussion and learn about the different diagnoses, learn about different treatment. It's enough to like kind of whet your appetite.
Right.
And if you want more, then you can take a deeper dive. So mine's more like a introductory or intermediate type of course. It's not going to be like, a 6-hour course on, PTSD kind of thing.
I think that's brilliant too, because I could only imagine as a professional in that area, if that isn't, your area of expertise and you just kind of want to say, hey, maybe this is coming up a good bit among the people that I work with. I should, look into this a little bit more. It does give them that, let me dip my toes into it. Hey, really like it. Let's go further.
Yeah, exactly.
How awesome are you? You're just doing so much important work, I feel like, and I know our audience is going to just want to learn more about you and what you have to offer. So where can they go to connect with you further?
Well, I am on Facebook. I have a couple pages on Facebook. You can find me at The Therapy Show with Lisa Mustard on Facebook. You can find me at Lisa Mustard Change Agent on Facebook, as well as on Instagram. You can find me at both of those places. I am on LinkedIn. I am on Twitter.
You're like, I think
I'm even on you know what, Lauren? I'm even on TikTok now because my daughter, but I only have like one video up.
Oh, me too. Horrible. I really don't know what to do. My kids are like, you have a video. I'm like, I think so.
Yeah. And I don't know what to do with TikTok, but Gary Vee says we need to be on TikTok. So I don't know.
So there you are.
So I'm there.
All right. Well, I'll have to find you because you might be like my first follow too.
Yes. Yes. That'll be so fun. Yeah. We can follow
I love it. I'll make sure to link all of this in this week's episode notes. Lisa, it has been such a treat speaking with you today. Thank you for sharing your journey and passion with us.
Oh my gosh, thanks so much for having me. I really enjoyed chatting with you.
How contagious is Lisa's energy? I mean, you're definitely going to want to connect with her further. I love the Instagram content she pumps out. I've linked her website, social channels, and podcast in this week's episode notes, found on mindbizlife.com. I'm back here on Friday for another episode of Fuel Your Life Friday, but until then, remember, every level of life is an opportunity to grow. Be well, my friend.